Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you're listening to this podcast, welcome and thanks for joining us on the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. We've got a great guest today, Dr. Jean, the Results Queen. Could you beat that? Dr. Jean Oursler. Welcome to the 10 Golden Rules podcast.
Oh my God, you actually pronounced my name correctly. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
So we're going to cover a lot of great stuff today. Dr. Jean has a company called Caveman Brain. And I was telling her, I used to play these guys who played caveman tennis. And she's going to tell us why tennis has great lessons for running a company. And she's got some awesome strategies for law firms to do better sales, better conversions, more sales, more revenue. A 30% increase is like standard. 60% is an awesome. And but we're also going to spend a lot of time talking about EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We've talked a lot about it, and I absolutely love it. If you haven't read the book Traction, go read this book, Get a Grip, because chances are, if you are an entrepreneurial attorney, the Get a Grip's a little easier for you. And the mistake I made is I read Traction. I tried to read Traction, but that's really written for the integrator. But we're going to get into all that when we get into it. So, Dr. Jean, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background and get us to present day.
I'm happy to do that, but I also am going to make the suggestion, read What the Heck is EOS? It is actually even easier than Get a Grip. So there you go. Yeah. So I love that Jay runs on EOS, and I know that he is so much more successful because of that, because of the conversations we had. So how did I get to where I am today? So I'm going to start a little farther back than most people do. But I went to college because I wanted to do something, and I wanted to be a theater arts management major. So I was a theater major. I wasn't an actress. I was taking a business degree in theater. And I look at everything as from running a show is so much like running a company. And all of the lessons that I learned as a stage manager and has absolutely helped me where I am today. So fast forward, I decided that when I got out of college, I didn't want to be a theater person because you get laid off a lot. So I decided to go into advertising, and I started Ogilvy. And I worked my way through pretty much every category except liquor and cars because I was bored. And of course, at the time I was a job hopper, but now you're about getting experience. And from there, I landed in a family-owned business that was basically around pharmaceutical marketing. And I created my own job because there was a need to they needed an HR person. And I saw this need, and I went to the president and gave him a 50-page presentation deck with a return on investment on each page because his sister-in-law was running HR. And he said, I'll give you 6 months, Jane, and if you like it, you'll stay. And if not, you go back into account management. I said, okay, that's great. And once I got the job, I thought, oh my God, I actually need to do this. So I got a master's degree in organizational development and did pretty much everything you can imagine in HR except for compensation and benefits. I don't know how to do that. And then I got pregnant, and I always say, like, how did that happen? And then there's like a birds and bees conversation because I'm not really sure how that happened. It was not my intention. And a year later, I started my company, and I was a mompreneur when that word didn't even exist. And now my daughter is 25 years old. So I've been in business for 24 years as a consultant. And at the time you were in between jobs. So it's been a long time that I'm in between jobs as a consultant. I run every type of business that you can imagine. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've loved every moment of it. And now I run a virtual organization called Caveman Brain Business Growth System. And we are really your one-stop shop for consulting, operations, sales, marketing, finance. And we love working with lawyers. We think that they're the best. And if I can get every lawyer to run on EOS, the world will be so much better for lawyers. So that's my journey of today.
Yeah. So spend 2 more minutes. I know we're going to get into EOS and we're going to go deep.
Okay.
But what are some of the basic building blocks of the Caveman Brain process? Like, what's a good example of an attorney who should call you? They need X, Y, and Z help.
So we started out, interestingly enough, when how I got to lawyers. I'll just do that. My daughter was a competitive equestrian. Notice everything's about my kid because family first. And Really important about that. But she was a competitive equestrian and she suffered a major concussion the first month of her freshman year in high school.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, she's much better now. I mean, she went to Berkeley and she's doing great. I'm very happy about that.
Well,
But
she
at the
definitely
time,
recovered, right?
yeah, she definitely recovered, but it was a definite, I remember it was really a traumatic thing for the family. And what I did was at the time I was traveling across the country. I was like a mini McKinsey. And I literally shut that business down overnight, gave gave my contracts to my consultants, took just a handful of clients and restarted my business from my house, being online because I couldn't travel because of my daughter. And after a couple months, we did the analysis and we found that most of the people who were coming to us were either women or lawyers, accountants, and financial advisors. And they were coming to us for new business development. So that's how Caveman Brain started was we were teaching lawyers how to be better at new business development because none of them want to be ambulance chasers. And they all know that they need to do new business development, but they don't know how. And no one teaches them. And it's very awkward. So and what's really fascinating is I'm not a lawyer, but the fact is I'm probably a better lawyer than most because I spend so much time hanging out with lawyers. So then I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to hang out with lawyers, I better get a good credential. So I decided to go back and get a PhD in business psychology. And I became Dr. Jean, the results queen. And people are like, why are you the results queen? Well, my clients crowned me the results queen because I'm all about getting a result. What are you looking for? So the fact is that it started out with the fact that lawyers are not good at new business development. And once we started working with lawyers and realized, because they're super smart and they all have the same skills, they know how to ask questions. And that's what you do in new business development. You ask questions and you just have to change your hat from being lawyer to marketing. And once you do that, you'll be amazed at what you achieve. And there's billable hours and how do you handle all that? You don't need a lot of time. 5 hours is all you need. And that's what our lawyers tell us 5 hours and you'll get a 30% increase. Whether you're a partner or you want to be a partner, doesn't matter. That's where it starts is new business
You know,
development.
you mentioned the ambulance chaser and the billable hours. And
Yeah.
I think, I understand more that a business coach, a sales coach is a real good fit for the billable hours because you've got clients. If you can get them to do more, it really fits the billable hours model. But you mentioned the ambulance chaser term we don't all love, but personal injury lawyers. What if you could give us three good building blocks for how
Hmm.
to improve your sales
Hmm.
as a personal injury attorney?
Oh, yeah. So the first thing is that I'm actually going to give you four. Okay. Because we have
Absolutely.
we have a part, a four phase process. It's a circle. It's alignment, accountability, expansion, and brain junk is what we call it. You can enter the circle anywhere as long as you learn those four things. You will continuously go through those four things. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know your target audience like your adversary. You know everything about your adversary and you know everything about that case. Well, do you know everything about your target audience? Can you spot them from a mile away? Because once you know everything about your ideal target audience, ideal. And the best way to do that is to take the person you love the most right now or the person you've worked with that you love the most and describe that person as an avatar. When I came out of advertising, I worked at Ogilvy. We worked on Skippy Peanut Butter. Who is Skippy? Right? Describe Skippy. Is it a man, a woman? What car do they drive? What's their favorite hobbies? What's their pain points? What's their frustrations? Why would they need you? What value do you bring them? What kind of results have you gotten with your other clients that they would think that's really awesome? So alignment is super important.
So
And
what's an example for a PI attorney of avatar?
well, it depends on what kind of PI attorney you are, right? So, because personal injury is a lot of different things. So, if you're an accident person, um, think about you have gotten into a car accident, right? And this is really interesting for PIs. How many car accident clients do you have? That's the other thing. Like, what's your type of products? Because in terms of lawyers, we're giving lots of services, but and we look at it as products. So, like, what services you're giving, and what service do you give the most of, and which one do you enjoy the most? Because they may not be the same thing. So once you figure that out, then you look at who's the best client that you had. So you might have been like the mom whose kid got into a car accident. Well, then the fact is that the kid is not calling you. The mom is calling you. So the mom would be your best avatar. And you got to explain, like, why is the mom calling you? Well, she's so nervous Like if she's a high powered mom, she's so nervous about the kid getting in trouble in terms of like going to jail, ruining his life or her life. But I'm going to pick a boy because they mostly get into car accidents. Like they've been injured in a way that this will affect the rest of their life, that they're never going to be successful. So think about that, and then playing on those fears. No offense, and said with love to those power moms, but playing on those fears, because that's the thing. If you can solve those fears, like, look, I'm going to hold your hand through this whole process. Your kid is going to be perfectly fine. In fact, we've worked with 15 different types of moms and 15 different types of kids, just like you. And here's the outcomes that we've gotten. Now, we can't always get those outcomes because, nothing is guaranteed in life. But the reality is that this is one of the things that we will do to make sure that everything's going to be good for your kid. So I just gave you a little avatar, but I also gave you a story. So a witnessing story, testimonial story. That's not from me, it's from my clients. And lawyers are super smart. They just have to change their hat because that's just what they do when they stand in court. It's the same process. So when you do that, it's alignment, accountability. You got to be able to do this. So schedule 5 hours in your
Hang on,
calendar.
so I want to stick with alignment.
Okay.
It gives me two thoughts. Okay.
All right, go.
So the first one is, I used to sort of call this a trick question, and I used to ask other experts in marketing for attorneys, like, what's the best thing to put on the homepage of the website? A car accident, a lawyer in court, a lawyer with a big check, a lawyer fighting the insurance company.
Okay. And the answer is?
Or option 5. Well, the answer is that a little bit of what you talked about, which is you've got to pick what you stand for. And, it's fine. Like if you want to be the lawyer that gets the big check, you can be the big check guys and stick with that. And that can be in all your marketing and communications. If you want to be the lawyer who is part of the community, that's really good. And actually consumers like to see you and your team on your website. One thing that's probably not perfect, and there are probably spots for it, is you actually don't want to show the lawyer in court, because a lot of consumers are afraid to go to court. They're like,
truth.
Oh my God, I don't want to go to court. I hope I don't have to go to court. Like they're scared to death of going to court. But the moral of the story here is, I love the point, your first point, alignment. And a big part of it is picking what you stand for as your firm, picking your brand promise, picking your core, USP, unique selling proposition. I also worked in advertising.
Yeah, right. Well, that's why you do the marketing for all these lawyers, because what the digital marketing is really important for them.
Yeah, I'm funny. I used to work in advertising. Like big agency advertising.
I know.
I worked on McDonald's and Coca-Cola, McCann Erickson, stuff like that. So,
we can have a whole conversation about that.
So I love the alignment. The other thing that's really valuable and important, and Dr. Jean and I will definitely vouch for this. When I picked our niche, so, first I picked the niche of digital advertising, and then we picked the niche even further of working only with attorneys. And so it's been so much easier for our firm and so much easier for me. Like I know what I do. I know which conferences I'm supposed to speak at. I know what I'm supposed to interview and what topics we're supposed to cover. And my staff gets really, really, really great at doing digital marketing for attorneys. So a big part of that, and I think part of that alignment and that message for Dr. Jean is picking your core and sticking with it. And everybody's gonna be like, oh, but we do great in mass torts, and like, do you really? You got like you had one, win in one mass. Like stick, pick that 80-20 rule. You get 80% of your revenue from 20% of your niche, and make that your focus, your alignment.
I agree with that 100%. And I'm just going to tell you this: lots of people, you may not have 20%, you might have one. Pick the one, and that person, and you can grow your practice from the one. Right. And this is the other thing people say to me. There's a great book, older book, Riches Are in the Niches. The more you niche, really niche, the more money you'll make. And it's because it's easier.
That was just like a cliche saying, but
no, there's a book.
I didn't realize there was actually a book. Okay, great. Let's get through your 4. So number 1, alignment. Number 2,
accountability. Got to be accountable, and 5 hours a week. That's all you need. Schedule 5 hours in your calendar and write what you want to do for new business development in it. And we have, you can go to our website, cavemanbrain.com. We have our marketing attraction vehicles. Which ones do you want to use? Digital marketing is the best. I'm going to tell you that. And lawyers are terrible at it. So, you need to do it really because they don't have enough time. But pick stuff that you can do.
Now,
And
I assumed that the marketing piece was separate, but you're saying
yeah,
that,
but I'm
the
saying,
marketing
yeah, marketing piece is separate, but things
is
like
part of
network.
your
Yeah.
new business development. I mean, obviously marketing is part of your new business development.
Yeah, it has to
I
be.
assumed you were going to give us, core principles for,
Okay, let me give you some.
yeah.
So, like, let's pick networking because every lawyer thinks they need to network, and most lawyers say that they get business from other lawyers. But go to high value networking. Do speaking. Do high value speaking. Lots of them play golf. And we have a whole golf webinar. If you're going to go play golf for X amount of hours, however many holes you're playing, make sure that you're bringing something back. One of our top um, successful lawyers, all he does is play golf, and that's how he brings home clients. And every time he plays golf, he brings home a client because he knows that he's playing X amount of hours, and he better bring home something to his law firm. Swear to God, and he's growing his whole practice just by playing golf.
I love it.
So
And we actually met through a group called Provisors.
yeah,
And if you're an attorney and you haven't checked it out, it's about 60 or 70% lawyers. And
hmm
great networking forum where you can find those referral partners, and build
yeah,
friends and relationships and meet amazing people like Dr. Jean. Dr. Jean, number one, alignment. Number two, accountability. Number three,
expansion. So most lawyers, when they get really well at alignment and accountability, they want more. And their law firm starts to say to them, "Hey," or if you're one of the partners, you're like, "Hey, we're really growing the business now, and we want to grow it more. How do we continue to grow it?" So expansion, and then brain junk, or people might call it mind junk or mindset. We call it brain junk because Caveman Brain. And the gig about the fact is eventually something's going to change and it's going to land you in a place that you're like, wait, this is not working anymore. I mean, I was just on the phone with a partner of a law firm. We work one-on-one in coaching. And he's like, I don't understand why these clients won't, call me and talk to me and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, you're in brain junk. Let's have a conversation. And once you get through brain junk, you end up back in alignment because you've learned something that has changed. Economy's changed, your clients changed, your services changed, something has happened, and that then makes your ideal target client you have to update it. And that puts you back in alignment. So you have to make sure your stories and your marketing attraction vehicles and your ideal client are in alignment. And you just go through the whole circle again. We have clients who've been us for, I think our longest client is 12 years, and they still cycle through the same four. So there you go.
so alignment, accountability, and expansion. But
Yep. Brain junk.
but I guess I'm missing the point. So avoid brain junk, or
Oh no, you're going to end up in brain junk. So we were teaching, we were working with a mid-sized law firm with their, um, why can't I think of the name? It's early in the morning, but they were working with not their partners, but people that want to become partners. Why can't I think of the name for the moment? And we had a guy who was part of the program. Our program is a year long. And there's a reason why it's a year long is because it takes time for you to learn all these things. He spent the whole time in brain junk because he had been working with a partner who fed him all of his business, and he had never gone out to get any new business, and they wanted to make him a partner, but they had a mandate of you had to bring in $250,000 worth of new business before you become a partner, and he just couldn't do it. And he spent the whole year in brain junk, and finally towards the end he got it, but he spent all the time in brain junk. He couldn't actually get to the fact that he was going to be in alignment because he just was carrying baggage. And brain junk comes from four places: your parents, your culture, your childhood, and your life experiences. So thinking about, like, this happens a lot with lawyers. I brought home my science paper, whatever it was, whatever subject matter it was. And it was a 97. And my dad or mom said, where's the other 3 points? And I'm always working for the other 3 points. Right? You don't have to work for the other 3 points. 97 is really good in business. If everyone was being a 97, and that's not happening. But there's stuff that you're carrying that makes you a minder or a grinder when you can really be a finder. And any lawyer can be a finder.
I mean, I'm not going to do justice to this because I just heard it yesterday from our EOS implementer, Gerardo, but he was actually quoting Dan Sullivan, and he said it's a concept called the gap.
The gap and the gain.
Yeah. And what he was explaining is there's the horizon, and it's your B-HAG, your big,
Yep.
hairy, audacious goal. I think that's Tony Robbins' term.
No, it's Jim Collins, my friend.
Jim Collins.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Anyways, why don't you explain it? Because I'm going to make brain junk out of it.
No, you keep going. Well, the reason why is because I know Jim Collins and I
Yeah.
love Jim Collins. And so I'm like, no, Tony didn't say that. I never ever met Tony. Like,
Okay, so you set a B-HAG, the big,
Yeah.
hairy, audacious goal. Like we have our big, hairy, audacious goal, and we were working on it yesterday. We had our full quarterly EOS day. And what he said is a lot of firms and a lot of people, and particularly the visionary, get mired in this place where they're always not achieving and they're always dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Because you set your goals so high. And even if you achieve your goals, like I think we achieved 95% of our goals this quarter.
Great.
And of course, yeah, see, and you're great. I'm like, oh, that so sucks. Like,
Why?
that's not even winning. Like 145% of your goals is winning.
Yeah, no.
Playing the gap, why am I living in the gap and the game?
Yeah, right. Well, that's because it comes from your childhood, your parents, your culture, your life experience. And what's really great about EOS and Caveman Brain is that we take all of the psychology that we've done in new business development and we've become EOS implementers. And I'm so excited that you run on EOS because I want every law firm to run on EOS because
Don't go all the way there. We're going to
all
go.
right, I'm not going to go right there, but I'm an
The
EOS.
gap in the
Yeah,
game.
the gap in the game is so many of us live in the gap. And the fact is that like 95%, I will tell you, I have clients who only get 50% of their rocks. And the idea about rocks, let's just talk, I'm just give me theories. With rocks are goals that you set every 90 days to achieve by the end of the quarter. And the idea
big projects that you've got to get done in the
that
quarter
you've got to get done.
Move the needle, right?
Yeah, to move the needle to be a better organization. And running an organization, running your law firm on a 90-day cycle is really, it's a great way of moving forward because it's a short period of time, but it's long enough that you can do a lot of things. I've been running for 24 years. I've been running on 90 days and it's amazing.
Yeah, quarter is great. Like I'll give you an example of a rock. Like our team sat down and we brainstormed and we figured out what we really needed to do. And I was surprised. The team came to me and said, Jay, our website's really looking a little dated. I'm like, wait a minute, we just did that website.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, really? And then when we thought about it, it was actually like 4.5 years. It seemed like just yesterday.
I know.
Great to me that the team was coming to me because, I always used to do those kind of big projects and they're like, no, we're going to get the website done. And it took about 4 months, but we really got the majority of it done in the quarter. So that's an example of a quarterly goal. The whole team's behind it. Everybody makes sure we get it done. We actually like the term the top one of 5, and I think that's from Rockefeller Habits.
It is,
and it's like, so you set your 5 goals. EOS says you can have between 3 and
7, but you really can't. You have to have 5 because the brain can't have more than 5. Yeah, it's 3 to 5. And that's it.
But the top one of 1, everybody leaves that meeting committing to no matter what, we're going to move heaven and earth and get the top one of 1 done. All right.
Yeah.
So we don't want to live in the gap.
So hold on a minute. Let me just go back to your 95% because you're like, notice Caveman Brain. I'm like right there. Caveman. Thanks so much. I owe you $1. Caveman Brain. I only got 95% done. Now let me ask you this: if every single person who's listening to this, set 5 rocks or 5 priorities or 5 goals to get done by the end of the quarter, and they got all 5 done to move their company to the next level, how amazing would that be? Right? So that's 100%. Imagine if you got 95% of the way there. How amazing would that be? I have clients that get 30% of the way there. And the reason why I'm saying yay for you is because it's not about completion at 145%. It's at completion at 100% of all of your people, one, which is challenging in any type of firm, but especially a law firm. But 2, you're setting really great rocks to set your company up for success because it only can get to 100%. So like, yay for you and good for the fact that you're setting amazing priorities that are doable and achievable for your organization. Celebrate that.
Thank you.
And most people don't celebrate.
So the point is like celebrate, don't live in the gap of always, we didn't get to 100.
Don't look at the 3 points. Don't look at the 3 points.
Consider it a fail. Consider it a win.
Consider it a win and move on. 97% is a really good thing. 3 points is not worth it.
I got you way off track. So
that's okay.
4 phases to the
Oh no,
caveman
we did
brain
that. I
concept.
want to move into you. We did
Alignment,
that.
accountability, expansion. Just
And
give us
brain
number
junk.
4 real quick.
And brain junk.
Brain junk is number 4. Okay.
Yeah, brain junk is number 4. And we just had a whole brain junk conversation right here in person on live because he was like 95% I
I
didn't
was
make
stuck in
it.
the gap of brain junk. Now I get
Yeah, now you get, and I'm like, really? That's
my
awesome.
caveman.
And he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, really? I think that's caveman brain. And that's what it is. Caveman brain is a noun, it's a verb, it's an adverb, adjective. Because the fact is, when you can identify when it's happening, then you can fix it. And that's what happens is that most people don't really think about, especially from new business development or even running your firm, you don't really think about the psychological things that are holding you back. And having worked with a Harvard neuroscientist, I realized that there's a lot of psychological things in my caveman brain, which is your amygdala. It's inside of an almond, it's at the back of your brain. It's your internal protection system, think fight, flight, or freeze. And it's the one that makes up all those stories that prevent us from being more successful. So Jay just did a great job. Thank you so much, Jay. For he's like, I only got to 95%. I think there are people who would kill to get to 95%. And you're like, where's the other 5%? It doesn't really work that way. Okay. Be consistent every quarter and get 95% and imagine where your organization is going to go with all of your people getting to 95%. That's a win.
By the way, you said that your dad, when you get 97 out of 100, your dad would say, where's the other three points?
Yeah.
My dad was similar. I was a hockey goalie. And I remember a lot of times in the car on the way home, like I could play the game of my life and we'd win 2-1. I'd let in one goal.
Uh-huh.
And he'd be talking about, what were you doing on that goal? Like your stick was waving. Were you waving at me in the crowd? Like, like
Yeah.
wait a minute. I just made like 49 saves and we won 2-1.
Yeah. Well, that's the challenge is that caveman brain is negative,
Yeah.
and it always is going to look at the negative, the gap, right? But the reality is that we can change caveman brain. And we do this in EOS just as much as we do this in new business development. If you can change that look to be on the positivity, which is a whole new thing, and that's really interesting in itself, that you like think about you made 49 saves. Like that's enormous.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Look,
But
he always
that's,
kept me wanting more. So
yeah.
anyway, let's jump into EOS. So we
Okay.
touched on it briefly. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Mm-hmm.
And we, really quickly, our story, I mentioned I read Traction. Everyone kept saying how great EOS is. Hopefully y'all are hearing about it. And if you haven't jumped in, by the way, we did an entire webinar. So you can go to our YouTube channel and watch a webinar with some really amazing EOS experts, including Mike Morse, has the
Yeah.
200 million plus law firm in Detroit. And he was
Yeah.
with Wickman, who's the founder and creator and author of these EOS books. So he's running a law firm and gives, as a matter of fact, he just did a LinkedIn post this week and he gave a ton of credit to Gino Wickman and to his integrator. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Gino will explain what an integrator is. So Gino is his implementer and he has an in-house integrator. And Gerardo Escalona, who's our EOS implementer. So that's an amazing webinar on EOS for law firms. If this is the next part of this conversation is interesting to you and you think, hey, I want to check out EOS, you're either going to read what the heck is EOS, get a grip or Traction, and then watch the webinar video. So Dr. Jean, tell us about EOS for law firms, and you're super passionate about it. You said you just wish every law firm should be running on EOS.
Every law firm should run on EOS. I just came from a provisor meeting, and it was a lawyer, and he said to me, "We run on EOS," and I was like, "That's awesome." He said it was within a doubt the best decision, top 3 best decisions I've ever made for my law firm, and they've been running on it for 4 years. And what's so fascinating is that I think lawyers really think in silos in many ways. Like I work here and I work here, and we're a bunch of partners who kind of cobbled together this law firm with a lot of names on it, and let's see what happens. And the fact is that you're running a company. I was at a lawyer networking event, and at the end, the lawyers all said, "And next time, all of you, would you please bring a business owner?" And I thought, you are business owners. Like
Right.
everyone in this room is a managing partner of their law firm and they run a business. And I will tell you that when the most successful lawyers that I've seen are the ones that realize that they're running a business in the area of law. And most lawyers don't think that way. And most lawyers have never gone to school to learn how to be an entrepreneur, but all of them were like, I hated working in the big firm. I was giving them so many business hours and I decided to own my own company. Great. I'm glad that you started to open up your own firm. That's awesome. What are you doing to run a better firm? How are you learning how to do that? And what's so great about EOS, and Jay runs on EOS too, so you can talk about this all day long, is that EOS gives you this framework, really super easy, that you learn in 2 years, and then the person goes, oh, goodbye, and you run an amazing law firm that is going to kick butt over every other law firm. And it doesn't matter if you're small, medium, or large. EOS works everywhere. And I love the fact that Gino worked with Mike, because the fact is that I think law firms are terrific and they could run so much better. And I've seen the results. And one of your fellow lawyers are saying it's the top 3 decisions, it's in the top 3 decisions that he made for his firm. Come on now.
Well, let me reinforce that. If you go in a room, and there's a great room that I speak at every year. By room, I mean it's mastermind. It's a annual meeting with some of the top personal injury firms in the country, invite only. And in this room, if you ask for a raise of hands and you say, okay, who's running on EOS? 9 of the top 10 firms by revenue, by good guys, by all performance metrics, 9 of the top 10 are running on EOS. Success leaves clues. Now that's a Tony Robbins for sure, right?
That's a Tony Robbins.
And guess what? I'm in a mastermind that's much like the lawyer mastermind, but it's only for digital marketing agencies. And we have a top tier called the Titans that I was invited to join. And guess what? 19 of the 20 or 18 of the 20 Titans run on EOS. So success leaves clues. And that's why Dr. Jean and I are so bullish about it. And it's interesting. I asked her before, I said, what, and you answer this question, hopefully you give me the same answer. What's the single best reason for running EOS for you?
Oh, I did answer that really well, didn't I? You haven't learned about me is that I only answer really well once.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you my answer. Then you're going to give me your answer. So okay. I wrote this down. Okay. I'm going to show you like this.
I love that he wrote it down. It's even better.
I'll show. Well, no, I didn't write your answer down. I wrote.
No, he wrote his answer down. I know my answer. Yeah. He's going to show yours. I didn't write mine down.
I'm going to show. So, EOS is an operating system.
Yeah.
So it comes with this whole massive book and this.
Look at him.
So our implementer at the end of the meeting asked us, he said, what was the best part of the meeting for you? And I said that, the visionary, and I'm the visionary of the firm, which means like I'm the guy who's out building relationships and going to conferences and coming back with a million ideas.
You're the managing partner.
Creator in the firm to make things happen. And the visionary generally gets in the way of that. So, what I learned is that the visionary needs to be out of the weeds to have time to be a visionary. And the most powerful thing for me about EOS is that my leadership team has now taken responsibility and accountability. So I used to think I had to be the person who was the manager and I had to get everyone to do things. But now that we have EOS and we have this accountability chart, our leadership team now takes that leadership and accountability upon themselves. So that frees me up to do the things that I should be doing, my super skills or whatever you call them, speaking at conferences, networking, building relationships, creating content, creating webinars and podcasts. And that's where Jay lives in his sweet spot. So, my answer is that everybody's taking accountability to allow me to be who I need to be. What's the best part of EOS for Dr. Jean?
Yeah, I'm going to just say this because I have to. If you have an executive committee in your law firm, then you need to run on EOS because you already have a leadership team. And a lot of lawyers are like, wait, what? If you have 3 partners, 2 partners, 5 partners, by yourself, all of you can run on EOS. And the reason why I'm so passionate about EOS is that we put EOS into our Caveman Brain and on our sales coaching. We don't call it new business development coaching and training. And I can play integrator and I can play visionary, which is great as an entrepreneur, but you got to pick one. And the visionary is the person who goes out and builds all the relationships, but the integrator is the one that is the glue that holds the team together to get everything done. And my integrator, actually, I come in, I drop in, I say all the great things that I need to do, and then I get to leave. And my integrator runs the company. And I have way more time and freedom to do other things like build the EOS side of our company. And you'll find that I have this managing partner. I love him so much, this managing partner. He said to me, I was so skeptical about EOS. But now I get to go out and do so many more things for the firm while the partners are running the business. And I have an integrator to keep them all in the right line of where they need to go. And he goes, and never all the lawyers know exactly what they're supposed to do. And it cascades back and forth. And it's not every man for themselves.
So I
So
always love to speak in, give the basics, gives the medium tip, and give the advanced tip. And we kind of covered the basics of EOS, like, read what the heck is EOS, or get a grip,
yeah.
read traction. And by the way, if you are that integrator type of person, if you're the chief operating officer, the director of operations, the glue person, the person who gets stuff done back at the firm while your partner's out running around, golfing and generating clients, then read traction. Like if you're the integrator person, read traction. But what's the advanced tip? Like, maybe you're a year and a half in with some firms that you've been coaching on EOS. What gets people to the next level with this program?
Well, first of all, you have to stick with it. So that's and
We're
you really,
sticking with it. Come on, I want the good stuff.
no, well, but the fact is that, and we're talking about law firms here, right?
Yeah.
So sticking with it. I'm thinking about my most successful law firm on EOS. And the reality is that they're in the right seats, doing the right job, getting 100% completion on their rocks. So they're setting really good rocks, and they're holding people accountable, and they're communicating to everybody. So everybody knows they have a town hall meeting. They're all running on their L10 meetings. So everybody in the organization has a measurable. Everybody in the organization is running on the system successfully. Everyone's doing an L10 meeting. Everyone has metrics in the organization. And they're amazed by how easy it is and how much better their law firm is because they have this framework that's guiding them to make more money, more time, and better clients. Who wouldn't want all that?
It's actually, we went for dinner after our session last night, and our integrator said, the amazing thing about EOS is how much better our meetings are.
Yeah.
If you're not on EOS, you probably recognize this, that meetings are scattered. Nobody follows the agenda. You get sidetracked all the time. Nobody follows up on the things that we're supposed to be followed up on. And the beauty of these, what are called L10 meetings, is, well, number one, there's a great agenda. Number two, you follow it, you get a ton completed. And number three, there's a thing called issues. And you identify your top issues, and you solve 3 issues in every meeting. And it's amazing how many major issues we've now solved and made significant, dramatic improvements in our company due to this system, right?
Yeah. I got one other thing that I would tell you. So I had another managing partner. He sits in a round table with other managing partners. And he wants all of them to run on EOS. And they said, what's the number one thing that's changed? And he said, that long to-do list that you have of all the things that you want to do but never get to? And they all go, yeah. He said, I had that too. I don't have that anymore. A year and a half in, all done. Everything's completed. And they all went, wait, what? And he goes, yep, all done. That whole list, not even happening anymore. I'm doing more stuff that's more futuristic, that's better. And that, to me, if you've got a long list of stuff that you can never get to, then EOS will clear that up and you'll never have it again.
Well, this stuff's awesome. And so if you want to check out EOS, you're going to connect with Dr. Jean, and she'll give you her contact info at the end in just a minute. We're going to wrap up with what I call my short snappers, and a couple quick questions. Just give us quick answers, please. What are some apps or techniques you use for personal productivity?
Otter. I love Otter. Otter's the best.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
AI note-taking tool.
Oh,
Right?
I'll not well, and I record everything, and then I have a transcript, and then I do it like when I'm watching a webinar that I'm learning from. I'll record the part, and then it transcribes, and then I can put it to my email, and I can use that information wherever I want to. So I love
I'm
Otter.
using a similar program called Fathom AI. And it's
Yeah.
awesome. So it
Yeah.
records the interview, records the video, records all the notes, and it writes actually meeting notes and follow up
I love it.
that. And it's fantastic, especially for all of our sales meetings, because then the team knows exactly what we promised to follow up with, and what we quoted, etc.
Can I give one more? And it's not
Yeah,
necessarily
sure.
personal, but I
Yeah.
use it personal and business. It's called 90IO.
Yeah.
And 90IO we run EOS on, but it also I run all my personal stuff on 90IO. So it's actually a CRM system. It's a accountability system. It's a place that helps you with run EOS. It's not that expensive. And man, I have tried Asana and all those other
Yeah.
things. 90IO is just so intuitive and it works
And,
really well.
and 90IO is that a competitor to Bloom Growth?
It is, but I'm going to tell you right now, Bloom. I've seen clients run on Bloom.
Yeah.
90IO is so much better. Sorry, Bloom.
No, that's great because we just did the trial of Bloom Growth, and I think we got to at least test drive 90IO.
You got to try that. You definitely have to test drive 90IO and
Next
make
one, super quick. Best
go.
business books.
Best business books. Oh, so I just read 10X is easier than 2X, which is a Dan Sullivan book.
Dan Sullivan, yeah.
Yeah. And what's so fascinating is that I not necessarily want to 10X my caveman brain business growth system because I like it where it is. But the ideas of living in the 10X way is so interesting. So how do you 10X your business?
Hey, 2 references for Dan Sullivan in one podcast.
I know. Strategic coach, baby.
Blogs, podcasts, or YouTubes that you subscribe to, and as soon as they come in your feed, you stop whatever you're doing and you listen to them.
So it's interesting you say that. I actually it's it's Vanguard's newsletter. I love the Vanguard's newsletter. It's called IV8F, and the guy actually rips on Vanguard. But given that, it gives me all my financial information right there and then. And there's something also called Medium. Mark Scheffer is a marketing guru that I totally follow that I love. So
Mark Scheffler.
Scheffler, yeah, okay. Love him.
I'll check that out. I'm not familiar. And you're a tennis player, backhand or forehand?
Backhand. Did think about that.
NFL team.
Dolphins, baby.
Oh, nice. Love it.
Yeah.
And this is the easiest one. Where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, so they can go to cavemanbrain.com and they can write to me at Jean@cavemanbrain.com. And there are 800 of us implementers across the nation. So if you email me, I will find you a person in your area. I tend to work virtually as well as in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Florida and DC. So those are my areas, but we'll find you a person. So you just Jean@cavemanbrain.com. Love to talk to you.
Jean, the results queen. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you, Jay, for having me. I am so excited. And I'm going to say this. Jay's going to be on my podcast, Getting Results with Dr. Jean, the Results Queen. So come listen to Jay because it's going to be terrific.
Love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENgoldenrules.com.